I had to start with this from Crypto Brothers before we discuss XRP. The CEO of Digital Ascension claims that XRP would never collapse by 90% again. I found it amusing that this story misspelled Jake Clabber's name. Although they dubbed him Jake Clover, he is entirely correct. XRP won't drop by 90% once more. I see a lot of folks predicting that it will reach $50 or more before plummeting all the way back down. I simply don't see it for less than 50 cents, and it doesn't meet institutional requirements. It simply won't happen, not with regulatory certainty being established, not with Ripple obtaining a banking license. You are aware that anything that costs less than $1 is lost forever. Anything under $2 for XRP is probably also gone forever. I don't even anticipate the significant setbacks that people are demanding. According to Paul Atkins, I firmly believe that we will experience a full-scale utility run somewhere in 2026, since utilities will begin to significantly influence the price of XRP. At that time, we won't ever again see such low pricing. I'm happy to report that the cross-border task force has been established. The SEC will be able to employ all of its resources to fight multinational fraud, thanks to this new task force, which will coordinate SEC investigation activities. Everyone wants the new system to launch as quickly as possible, you know. In the near future, XRP will be transferring tokenized assets internationally. Additionally, it will be transferring digital currencies between countries. The first step, however, must be to eliminate fraudulent and illegal activities in cross-border payments and transactions, and I believe the SEC is set to begin working on that. Reduce all cross-border criminal activity. This will open the door for the transfer of tokenized assets and other items from one nation to another, as well as from one American citizen to another. Black Swan Capital is the source of the fraud and illegal activities that must be eliminated before sending anything to someone in the EU. He is discussing how XRP and our RLUSD are a true cross-asset solution. The objective is not stablecoins. They are a means of purchasing government debt. In any case, stablecoins continue to push XRP's price higher through bridge settlement, making it the liquidity bank that bridges assets quickly. All stablecoins require a bridge, but pay attention to what he says in this video, because he also states that it must have some sort of backing.
In a sense, you could say as the new digital dollar, because if they're buying up treasury bonds and gaining acceptance globally, inevitably, you're going to see upward pressure on XRP. And why? A lot of people think XRP and RLUSD are two different things. Yes, they are. But the heart of settlement demands and liquidity management for these high-value tokenized debts, that's XRP. It would seem that stablecoins are essentially a lifeline, really, for the central banks and governments to keep them to propping up their fiat systems and buying new debt. It's not the solution, you see? So that's a dilemma I'm having right now as far as understanding how these two things play out. And the problem with traditional stablecoins, even RLUSD, despite the fact that the demand is there as a lifeline, and that's what I really believe, is they're one-to-one peg with fiat. And that's the problem, because that peg is fragile because it's tied to the US dollar. And the system can't sustain itself until it's bridged into physical, tangible assets.
He claims that because it is based on the US dollar, it needs to be supported by something else, because it is brittle. I firmly believe that we will transition to a gold-backed economy. But who will receive their gold-backed currency first? It will be the BRICS, I think. Listen to this out.
I'm not going to call it prediction. I'm just going to, a little Nostradamus, that there's a BRICS stablecoin that comes out in the next 12 months that is backed by gold. Not fully, but partially. Because I know they're doing a BRICS currency and they're going to want to have their stablecoin, and you know what better message that this has got gold in it. And so I don't think the gold phenomena is going away.
The gold phenomenon, in my opinion, is also here to stay. It's just going to become stronger from here, in my opinion. Although I do believe BRICS will probably introduce a gold-backed currency first, I even think they will revalue gold before doing so. The US will then suddenly require a digital money backed by gold. The EU will require a digital euro backed by gold. The UK will have a digital pound backed by gold, and so on. And I believe this changeover will occur very soon. There will be no announcement regarding it, and when it does occur, it will be unexpected. And smoke is the source of this. Everyone is constantly claiming that SWIFT will never use XRP. Thus, an ISO is unrelated to XRP. The payload MT is being changed to ISO 222MX by ISO 222. What aspects of the data model changed? The new feature added to the ISO MX message payload is called crypto. The distributed ledger blockchain retains the rich data payload. SWIFT can be used with international payment systems such as Ripple. Better data payloads for remittance details, quicker payments, and transparent pricing are all promised by Ripple. The only distinction, then, is that this states that you will send a payment, correct? Therefore, SWIFT is not seeking to develop its own cross-border payment coin, as some have claimed, and messaging permits the use of cryptocurrency within such messages. Some claim that SWIFT will simply produce its own coin to be used for international payments. Although SWIFT is already considering Ripple, they want to use it within SWIFT. They are testing the technology developed by Ripple. They perceive XRP for what it is as well. They are also aware that it is the future. Every BIS white paper on RippleNet technology cites it. Metals were precious between 1900 and 2000, and they also discuss stellar technology. Purchasing a normie now is too late. It's too expensive for you. Digital will be supported by metals as we move toward digitalization. As a new metal-backed financial system, also known as the quantum financial system, we are not returning to a dollar backed by a metal standard. I don't believe that gold and silver are completely out of style just yet. Silver is still being purchased. However, as we transition to a gold-backed system, you will observe that they will use a cryptocurrency, such as XRP, to transfer that gold-backed digital currency. Why do gold-backed back BRICS currencies, etc.? Because, in other words, even among the BRICS nations, every nation will require a layer of confidence.
China is receiving money from Russia. Russia is receiving money from China. They will have two items in between. A bridge currency, like XRP, which could transfer anything of value. However, it also provides liquidity. Since XRP offers on-demand liquidity, the BRICS nations might establish a liquidity pool and simply keep using it to transfer funds among themselves. They could use XRP to transmit money to the US and vice versa, even if they travel outside of those nations. Because of this, XRP is very game-like. According to reports, XRP is being positioned as a component of the BIS's global settlement infrastructure by altering the BIS, which is frequently referred to as the central bank of central banks. As previously said, the BIS has referenced XRP and Ripple in each and every white paper. That infrastructure, its RippleNet technology, and RippleNet were all part of Enbridge, even after they sold it to China, so that brickmakers there could use the Enbridge pattern. Because XRP and RippleNet technology originate in the United States, some continue to believe that physical and brick-and-mortar businesses will never employ them. The company Ripple is no longer based in the US. They are currently a multinational corporation. How about the DEX? Although many individuals brought up the DEX, they don't actually discuss them. Thus, the XRP ledger superpowers the portability of assets and tokens, using the XRP ledger as a central location for smooth cross-chain trading compatibility. Here's what David Schwartz has to say.
One of the first things that we need is asset portability. That's not all of interoperability, but that's a big piece, and that's the piece we need now. And one possibility is the XRP ledger as a trading hub across blockchains with the DEX, the payment engine, pathfinding, the various different XRP ledger features that enable the movement of assets. In fact, one of the very first applications on the XRP ledger in the very, very early days was as a way to move Bitcoin faster and cheaper. issued assets enable, remote assets that are based on different chains along with bridges. So I think that's an extremely important step towards interoperability, but it's just one piece. The industry has a long way to go. But if we want mass adoption, users are going to have great experiences. We have to solve interoperability problems. The XRP ledger could be a token bridge for asset portability, but that's not the whole solution.
That's only a portion of the answer. But pay attention. In the beginning, he said, it was designed to transfer Bitcoin quickly and affordably. However, you are aware of the issue. You are aware of Bitcoin maxis. They won't transfer Bitcoin using the XRP ledger. Their pride prevents them from using the XRP ledger. They refuse to even discuss the purpose of the XRP ledger, which was to transfer Bitcoin. Anything of worth might be moved by it. Because they fear or despise XRP, many simply do not want to utilize it. We are going to take XRP to the next level. Blair, co-founder. What are the obstacles to achieving the great heights that Hugo Filion talks about for XRP? And why is this not happening? Trustworthy custody solutions are therefore preventing it from occurring. Obtaining clarification on regulations. What we're still awaiting, and this is still developing, is strong exchange support for wrapped assets, and passing stringent security checks for vaults and oracles. However, I believe that FLR's price will start to rise rapidly as it continues to deal with one issue after another. You see, Flare gives XRP even more functionality, which is why I used to tell folks that while Flare was still only worth 2 cents, they had better bring a good bag of it. Later, when Flare breaks beyond $1, then $2, and so forth, you won't regret it. But before we see the true utility impact on the price of XRP, Flare still faces several obstacles. And this comes from Uphold. According to the survey, the results of this week's poll are in. 53% believe that this month's Fed cuts will improve the situation. 43% believe that Bitcoin will rise above 110K. 44% of respondents believe that Solana's improvement will change the game. 87% think XRP has the biggest potential in the foreseeable future. I concur. 45% of people think September will end well. At least for XRP, I believe it will end up closing in the green. This month will bring about some kind of catalyst.
However, Bitcoin will begin to get traction as well. The cycle isn't finished yet, but Bitcoin has one more rise up in it, and when it does, it will push the rest of this market along with it. After that, we'll see the high figures for XRP as well. People who will be selling far too soon, and that will happen later this year or early next year. A large number of users are eager to sell their XRP. It's not real. Even in earlier cycles, it was too early because of the Ripple v. SEC litigation, and XRP was already off most of the main exchanges when everyone called for a $10 to $13 price for the cryptocurrency back in 2021. Of course, most people wanted to buy at $8 or $9 and then buy back in when the price dropped. It was held back by that. With all of the events that have transpired since 2021, it is no longer a barrier for XRP. If you go back in time during the bad market, you can see how XRP and Ripple have grown. This run is going to be a complete surprise. People are not prepared for what is going to occur. Over the next few months, people will make a ton of money.